Hello there, I'm Trevor, and in this episode of Somewhere in the Middle, we got a new trailer to watch.
That's right. Apparently, the new trailer for 28 Years Later, Bone Temple has dropped. I just got a text from a friend. So let's check out this trailer and see what it's all about. Let's dig in for our first view of 28 Years Later, the Bone Temple reaction play.
Trying to predict the future
There's our Bone Temple.
is a discouraging and hazardous occupation.
Murder of crows.
In fact, it may not even exist at all.
Oh, what is this? I cannot see. Oh, I am dead.
Okay.
None can excel.
Back to Ray Fiennes,
Many of the things
obviously.
we take for granted will one day pass away completely.
I open the door of heaven and hell.
When that time comes, men will no longer communicate. We may have diseases
Touch that, dude.
and barbarism.
Oh, I am
Okay.
The whole world will cease to make any sense.
I open the door of heaven and hell.
Look at the incredible changes we've experienced and survived. And yet even greater changes are still to come.
Are you ready?
Sheesh. I don't know, dude.
My soul shall scream in hell.
Ooh, Nia DaCosta. We got a new director. All right. Okay. Okay, I got a lot of thoughts. That first view, my brain just kind of like, holy crap, do I got a lot to talk about now seeing this trailer. Let's go react.
This franchise essentially has been, right, 28 days, 28 weeks, 28 years. And now all of a sudden it feels like a hard pause and we're sticking to 28 years later, or we're going to play in that sandbox, right? Why do I associate that? Well, there's not another time span that we're getting, and it's just straight up the Bone Temple, and it takes us into the Bone Temple, right? You need to see 28 years later to set up Bone Temple. And I know that Alex Garland wrote these together. I believe they shot these back to back. So it really looks like this is going to dig deeper into Ray Fiennes' character that is established in 28 years later, and we're going to see more. The other main characters that obviously we're going to see more of are the Jimmies. I think it was the Jimmies. That gets into the next aspect for me, which is, as I've gotten older, when I was young, horror, it didn't matter. I want to watch any kind of horror. But as I've gotten older, horror to me has started to change in the sense that people killing people for no reason, I'm not as into it. What's a good example of this? The Strangers. When The Strangers first came out, I loved it. That movie, fantastic. But as the franchise is extended on, and now we're getting the prequel sequel thing that's coming out this year or next year, I don't remember which. It's just killing for killing. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. And maybe this next one will give us a reason, but it just becomes kind of like, I don't know. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is another good example of that. I like those movies. However, I've grown weary of them in the sense that it's just a family killing other humans for torture purposes. Yeah, okay, they're cannibals, but it's not really for survival purposes, right? So this movie definitely, or this trailer totally set up that the Jimmies are killing to kill. They're evil. It says that the world's going to sort of fall apart and that there will be all these different things happening in the trailer, right? This one leans in again on that sort of audio text telling us about what's going to happen. And I feel like, I don't know, that might draw the line for me in this sense that the Jimmies are going to be so despicable, so evil, so gross, that watching that side of it is awful. I like the franchise because it's more about humans' survival in a zombie apocalypse or whatnot. And now we're getting to a point where they've made enough of these that you have to dig a little bit deeper than just that. So I'm curious how that unfolds. If it's just watching the Jimmies torture other human beings that are not zombies, I might not be all that interested in this movie. I might tune out at a certain point in the movie. But seeing how Ray Fine got to where he's at in his character, the fact that he covers himself in blood, that he's burning all these bodies, he's confronting zombies, right? He's learning to communicate with them. And there's another fascinating aspect here, is that you have a man that may be able to communicate with certain zombies, and then meanwhile you have humans trying to hunt him down, right? Like, so that's, I don't know, that's a very interesting situation. And also in the Jimmy aspect, one other thing for us to think about there is the kid, this new kid that you don't see him wearing the wig, and then he's wearing the wig, and his shock and awe face as things are happening, and what he's witnessing, what they're going through. And of course they juxtapose that to the girl with the knife, who's got the upside down cross on her forehead. She's very, like, red suit. She, you know, you're given all the indicators just visually that she's violent. She's wearing red. She's it's an attack color in my head, or I see it that way. Like, this definitely is a great table setter, that this isn't just going to be a survival point A to point B or whatnot.
Okay, last thing to discuss is director, right? We got Nia DaCosta taking over and director role. Alex Garland and Danny Boyle kicked this series off. Danny Boyle directed the first. Alex Garland wrote the first 28 Days Later, and then also wrote 28 Years Later, as well as this 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Danny Boyle directed the first 28 Days Later and 28 Years Later. What about 28 Weeks Later? That one was an offshoot, and neither were involved. Alex Garland, for me, is a big deal. Pretty much everything that guy touches, I'm a fan of. He makes movies that are prolific, writes films that really make you think. Warfare is probably one of my favorite movies this year, just for what it showcases about war and what our brave men and women are doing when they sacrifice themselves for our military. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how this plays out. Nia DaCosta has had sort of a spotty track record in the sense that plenty of people really like the Candyman remake, but then she got a job working for, Marvel or Disney, however you want to put that, and did the Marvels, which, I don't know, those movies, for whatever reason, Captain Marvel or anything associated with her, and then even Miss Marvel, it seems that, like, I don't know, MCU fans just aren't biting. I didn't have a problem with the Marvels. I thought it was interesting and fun. I've enjoyed Miss Marvel. I've enjoyed all of those stories. I'm not saying they're the greatest, but the Marvels got a bad shake. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. This also is coming out in January 2026. So that, in my mind's eye, doesn't show a lot of studio faith. Putting it in January can be, it's like a dead man zone, or like a place where movies kind of go to, like, see what happens with them. Sometimes movies in January blow up and become huge. Other times they just move on. And of course, again, this was shot back to back with 28 Years Later. So 28 Years Later performed well enough that we're going to move forward with The Bone Temple, but I don't know that it performed in a sense that the studio said, put it in the #1 spot, put it where it's going to, it's supposed to make money. This in January is like, it could make money. So I'm very curious to see how 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple does at the box office. That's kind of besides the point of the movie and what the movie's all about. But of course, those are two coefficients or two factors that plays a role. How do audiences like a movie? How is it beloved? Is there people that follow it in that sense? And then how does it perform at the box office, right? Oftentimes there are movies that don't perform at the box office but become movies that people adore and just become, I don't know, a part of pop culture, right? Even though they may not have been a box office hit.
I am not Mr. Lebowski. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude. So that's what you call me, you know?
Jury's still out to see what happens here with 28 years later, the Bone Temple. I'm excited. What say you? Let me know. So thanks for watching this episode with me as I did a trailer reaction to 28 years later, Bone Temple. Did this trailer grab your attention? Are you excited for it? Are you worried about it? More to find out as we wait for January 16th, 2026 to show up. And until then, keep watching and we'll see you in the next episode. Auf Wiedersehen.